Okay, so today we're going to talk about sort of the reverse of the area model we've been doing, where we've been multiplying binomials and we've ended up with something that looks like this, standard form of a quadratic. So that means we have a number, we call it a, in front of the x squared term. We end up with a number in front of the x term, and then we end up with just a constant term. So kind of the trick way to do this is we say the values that multiply to a times c and add to b. And the reason we're looking for that is, remember with our area model, we know that ax squared is going to be our first term and c will be our last term. And then these two combining together will add up to whatever that bx term is, because we have like terms in the middle there. So what we're doing here is we're going to try and figure out what these side pieces are working backward. And then I'm going to bring it back to this big X thing so you can kind of see the trick way to do it. So let's look at an example down here. We have an A value of 2, a B value of 10, and a C value of 12. So the first thing we're going to do is take our A value of 2 and our C value of 12, and we're going to multiply those together, and that makes 24. And then our B value is 10 here. So we're looking for factors of 24. Again, we're going to set up our reverse area model here. We know that we're going to have 2x squared in this box. We're going to have 12 in this box. And so we're going to use our factors to figure out our middle terms here. And they're going to add up to that total of 10 x's in the middle. So these two terms that come diagonally will add to 10x. All right. So what do we know? Factors of 24. We have 1 and 24. Those don't add to 10. 2 and 12, those don't add to 10. 3 and 8, those don't add to 10. 4 and 6, ding, 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 those do add to 10. So we know this middle, one of these terms is going to be 4x, and the other one is going to be 6x, because those add up to the 10x we're looking for. So now we need to see what common factors we have and see what we can pull out. So when we look at this first column here, what's the greatest common factor of these two terms? Well, we can pull a 2 and an x out of both of them. That would make this 2 go away and leave us just with an x here. And that would make this 6 become a 3 and no more x there either. Okay, then we're going to look at our next set of factors right here, our next two terms, and we're looking for a common factor of both 4 and 12. And 4 has an x, but the 12 doesn't, so we're not going to have any x's in this term. So that's going to be a positive 4 that we can take out of both of these. So that would leave me with just x there. When I take 4 out of this, this is going to end up being a 3 here. So notice all we have left here for these terms is 3. So this guy must be plus 3. That's the common factor of both of those. And when we look up at our top, we're left with just an x from this guy right here, has one x left over. So what our product ends up being, our two numbers that multiplied together, would be x plus 3 and then 2x plus 4. And now in this case, we have 2, 10, and 12. We could have taken a 2 out of this from the beginning. So you can actually end up with a couple different factors here. This is just the way I ended up doing it. You could also have ended up with 2x plus 6 times just x plus 2. And that would have ended up the same. These are going to give us the same x values at the next step. And then again, when we write out our sum, that's just the original we started with. Oops, I did this backward. Oh, this should just be sum, not factors. Product has factors, not the sum. Okay, so this is 2x squared plus 10x plus 12. All right, let's go and see, and again, what would go over here would be our factors that we pulled, which we said 6 and 4. Okay. So then now we're going to start on this next example. We're going to take our A term of 3, we're going to multiply it by our C term of 12, and we're looking for factors of 36, and we need them to add up to negative 13. So numbers that multiply to 36 and add to 13. Well, both of them are going to have to be negative because we have a negative 13 value here. So I'm looking for two negative numbers, and I'm thinking negative 4 and negative 9. Those two add up to negative 13 and they multiply to 36. So now we're going to do our reverse area model. We know our first term is going to be 3x squared and our last term is going to be 12. And we're going to have negative 4x and negative 9x, which gets me that total of negative 13x that I'm looking for when I combine my like terms. So now I need to pull out my common factors. So when I look at this here, what can I divide out of both of these? I can take a 3x out of both of these. And then when I look at my next column, what can I take out of both of these? I can take out a negative 4. Negative 4. And then this would go away. This would leave me with negative 3 here. This 3 was pulled out, giving me nothing left here, and an x. This is just a negative 3 left here. Okay, so I have one x left over that can be pulled out of both of my top row terms. So again, now I'm looking at the top row and looking for common factors. They share just an x. When I look at the bottom row, now what's left for them is just a negative 3. So my common factor there is negative 3. So the product, when I list them out as a product, it's going to be 3x minus 4 and x minus 3. And that's how I get my product. And again, my sum is just my original, what I started with, 3x squared minus 13x plus 12. And again, the key here is that these are equivalent in value. If you did your area model to multiply these two together, you would end up back here. And that's kind of the point of this. We're doing just the same thing we've been doing, only in the backward order. Okay, I'm going to do this last example for you, and then you can try the rest on your own. We're going to do A times C, which is negative 3. So this will be negative 6 up here, and adds to 5. So we're looking for numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to 5. Well, one of these is going to need to be positive and one is going to be negative. That's how we're going to get that combination. So we're going to take negative 1 and positive 6. When I multiply those two together, I get negative 6. When I add those together, I get 5. Okay, now to our area model. We know our first term will be 2x squared. We know our last term is going to be negative 3. And we know we're going to have negative 1x here and 6x's here, which give me my total of 5x's when I combine like terms, which is my goal. And now I'm looking for common factors again. So common factors in this column here, we could take out a 2x. Then if we look at common factors over here, we could pull out just a negative 1. That's the only common factor they share. So what's left out to pull when I do my horizontal here, we can take a 2 has already been pulled, x has already pulled, negative 1. So we just have an x left over. When I pull from this common factors, we took out the negative, so we're just going to pull out and we pulled out a 2 from here. So we have a positive 3 left over that can come out of this as a factor. So again, our sum is just our original, what we started with, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Our product, or our factors, what would multiply together to get us to that sum, would be 2x minus 1 and x plus 3. Again, giving us if you were to do your area model here, multiply those two terms together, it would get us back to that original sum that we're looking at. Okay, so I'm going to set up your area models over here for you to get you started. Remember, our first term is going to be 7x squared, and our last term is going to be 2. We know up here we're going to have 7 times 2, or 14, and we want to add to negative 9. See what you can do to find the factors, things that multiply to 14 and add to negative 9, and then see what you can do with that one. This one, our first term in our area model, will be 2x squared. Our last term will be negative 6. Then we're going to have over here 2 times negative 6 or negative 12, and the bottom will be negative 4. Okay, see what you can do with those.